Welcome to Practical Tactical. I have a little treat for you guys today. This one here is basically a small game hunting load for the 308 Winchester. It's a 53 grain bullet with a low energy powder charge to keep the velocities low so you're not going to blow the living heck out of whatever it is you're shooting at. Maybe you're out there big game hunting and you see a partridge or a rabbit or something smaller and you want to take it without blowing the living heck out of it. So that's what this load is for. It's pretty cool. You might call it a novelty load. You might call it a specialty load, depending on, I guess, your perspective. But it's pretty cool. You might want to make some of these for yourself. Stick around. I'll show you how.
Practical Tactical.
I am going to be showing you how to make some nice little hand loads. 53 grain lead bullet that don't go very fast, so it's a kind of a suitable load for using your high power centerfire rifle for possibly small game hunting. Like maybe, I don't know, you're out there deer hunting and see a partridge, you want to shoot the partridge or a rabbit or something, and you don't want to blow the living daylights out of it. So this is actually pretty cool. It's not one for the faint of heart. If you are not a person comfortable with hand loading, this is probably not for you. But maybe just watch it for entertainment value. But if you are a person who understands hand loading, I think you're going to like this one. It's actually very easy to do, and what we're going to be basically doing is making a little 30 caliber wad cutter load. That's what this is. There's a 53 grain lead bullet in here that we actually form from 00 buck shot. So I basically swage it and form it into the kind of a pellet shape and use some fast-burning specialty gunpowder. IMR makes a powder called Trail Boss, which a lot of cowboy action shooters are using. It's a low-energy powder designed to basically produce low-energy loads, light, low-velocity loads for cowboy action shooting. So anyway, stick around for this. This is the same stuff they use for the a lot of the military, I guess, low velocity loads, subsonic loads for using a silencer. So if you don't have any of this powder and you have an interest in that sort of thing, I know there's a lot of people that have silencers anymore, and this is basically stuff you can use to make those low velocity loads. So that's pretty cool. In this case, we are using it to make low velocity hunting loads with a 53 grain bullet for a 308. Now what we're going to use for bullets is basically 00 Buckshot. Here's some Hornady 00 Buckshot. I think it's like a good quality buckshot. I don't think it much matters, but that's what I could get my hands on, so I bought a box of this. 5 pounds. Now what we're going to be making is we're going to be forming them to look like little pellets. And some of them you can make them, it's up to you if you want to make them like this one, which is flat on both sides, both sides of the bullet, or you can make them sort of like this, where the back of it is kind of hollowed out. It's all about the punch that you use. So I have some different punches that I basically made from drill bits that were broken off, where I just ground it to a particular shape, and I use that to kind of form the back. So just drive it into the back as we're swaging them. So I'll show you how we do that. I guess we're going to start this off by showing you how to make a swaging die. What we're doing is we're basically taking 00 Buckshot, which measures .330, which is larger than a 308. We're loading this for the 308 or maybe a 30-30. It's up to you, whatever you want to use. But starting with 00 Buck, I'm going to reduce the diameter of the shot and reform it to kind of a little mini pellet, like a little wad cutter. So what we got to do is you got to basically drill a hole in a block of steel. Any block of steel will do. Mild steel is good enough. And the drill bit that I used is, gee, I don't know what size that says on there, but it measures .304 with the vernier. To measure it with the vernier, we get well, 303.5. I'll zero it out. 304 measures 304. So you could probably use 5/16, but it might be a little bit too big. I think 304 drills a hole that is often a little bit bigger than 304, so I think it's working out well. You can kind of see that it fits, and it's a bit not a real tight fit. So the hole is a little bit bigger. I think I might have polished that hole a little bit after I did it. I think I went in with a butterfly and polished it with some sandpaper. But what I did, just to I guess backtrack, is after I drilled the hole, I went into it with a carbide burr and ran this carbide burr in there while it's in the drill press, and just to cause a little bit of a taper to lead in, and that would be to help guide the ball. So we put the ball in there and then we drive it through with a punch. So we'll show you how you do that. But basically, drill yourself a hole, .304 drill bit, and then follow that up with drilling it with this, just to create that that taper at the beginning. And that's all you really need to form it. The length of this is longer than it really would need to be. It doesn't need to be quite that deep. That's just the size of the block that I happen to have handy, so that's why I used it. So what we're going to do, we're going to take some 330 double O buckshot, and we'll get this open up this box and pull out a pellet, and you can see that if I put it right there, it just kind of falls into that taper. Now if I put this on top of this little block right here, and I got to get out a punch. So what I have here is a little piece of hardened hard pin. It's a 1/4 inch diameter pin, and I'm just going to use this to get it started. Drive it down. So at this point, if I drive it all the way through, I guess we can show you how to do that. All I got to do is put this between a couple of parallels and drive it all the way through. You'll see that we end up with a rounded nose. So there's a variety of techniques that you can use to form the pellets however you want to. If you want to make it with a round tip, just it'll be flat on the back and round on the front. Hopefully you can see that on the camera. I'll give you some nice close-ups on how that looks. So this one's got a really nice round nose on it, and it's flat on the base. So the idea, what I kind of thought, by driving a cone into the back, like a cone-shaped something like this, was to increase the overall length of the bearing surface. So while this is kind of a cute little round with that short little ball, it really doesn't make a lot of contact with the rifling. So I kind of thought maybe making it longer is a little better, but you can experiment however you want to do it. Once you make yourself a little forming die like this, you can swage them any way you want. So you can do your own experimentation on that. But to be honest with you, I have not done a lot of accuracy testing between these two. So I really couldn't even tell you which one's more accurate. So maybe you guys can, if you do any of the testing with these, you can feed some of that back to the group by responding in the notes section below the video. So there's one. Well, that's just the one with the round nose, and then now we'll make one with the flat tip and with the taper in the back. So how we'll do that? We'll go back to the whoops. We'll go back to the mandrel and the kind of an anvil underneath. I'll move that forward, get it in the video. We'll roll another ball into the little taper. Give it a couple of hits to get it going. So now that it's started, I'll put I'll drive it in a little farther. Now that it's started, I'm going to use this one here now I have a couple different styles. I guess I should probably show that to you as well. I ground different ones different ways. So this one's got kind of a this one's got more of a, goes right to like a pencil point. This one's more flattened out with more of a soft taper. So the idea was with this one was to get a longer flare on the back of the pellet, I guess. So I'll drop this in and I'll keep hitting it. There we go. And now that it's all the way to the bottom, just bang it a couple of times. There we go. Now it's bottomed out on the anvil. Now I hit it a couple of times, and what that'll do is it'll drive the lead back up. Okay, and then now you can see how much of the nose is being formed. So how hard you hit it will change the radius in the corner. So you can see there's a little bit of a flat here, and if I want to hit it a little bit harder, I can make it a little more blunt. So you can kind of take a look at that, and then if you like the way that nose is forming up, then just knock it right out. So we'll go back to, I guess, just a couple of little risers. Doesn't much matter what you use to hold this up, and we'll drive that little slug out. Here we go. So now here we have a little slug, nice and formed on the end of my little forming tool, and you can see how big the hole is in the back of it. Now just kind of pull it out of there, and you can see how that's kind of formed. Now I'll do another one just to show you with the point. So we'll run another one in here. Ball in, 1/4 inch punch, now this time we'll use the pointed one. Take a look at the nose. It looks to be rounded about the same as the last one. Maybe I'll hit it a little bit more. There we go. And it'll depend. Like I'm using this on my desk, right? So I'm getting a lot of bounce back. If I put this on a vise or on the floor, on the cement floor, something harder, I think it'll. You can put a little more energy into it. It's up to you how you want to do it. And now we'll drive it out of there. So now we can see this one's nice and formed. It's a little bit, I think a little bit longer than the last one. So a nice bearing surface on it. Nice rounded lead in on the nose. Whoops. And a little bit of flaring on the back. So that's how we form these. We'll just form up I'll form up a bunch more. You know what I'll do? I'll use this one here with a point. I think it makes a little bit nicer job. So I'll form up some more of those, and then we'll get ready to prep some brass and load those. The idea is that they're not all necessarily perfect. You can put as much effort into it as you want, and you know, it's up to you how accurate you want to make them. I'm not all that concerned. I don't think it really makes a whole lot of difference in terms of accuracy from the accuracy shooting that I've done with these. They seem to be reasonably accurate, but hey, they're not match grade bullets. These are really just made to be a light load, kind of a compromised specialty load, and basically kind of replace what might otherwise be done with a 22 when you've got a centerfire rifle. So up to you how you know, you could just kind of make a bunch and sort them out by how they look. These are all, you'll see the back is they're all flared on these as I turn them over. So there you go, basically 308 lead pellets. So there's a bunch of bullets, and I'll show you how to prep some brass, and we'll talk about how to seat these things.
I did not know that.
We're going to start this off with some once-fired PPU cases. These are 308 Winchester. I'm going to start by putting a little bit of Imperial sizing die wax on the outside of the body. I just put a little bit on my fingers here, and a little bit on my finger. I'll put it inside the neck just to lubricate the expander ball, and we'll run that through the full-length resizing die. I got these are RCBS resizing dies that I'm using here. We'll run that through, and pull it out there. So there we go. Now we got a nice nice full-length resized case. Now when I'm just resizing a few cases and they're dirty like this, I don't put them in the tumbler or anything. I'll just polish them by hand with a little bit of auto sol. So you know, you got to clean that imperial sizing die wax off, and just kind of give them a little bit of a rub and just kind of get the bulk of that off, and then go to the clean side on the rag and give it a little bit of a wipe, and it's not too bad. You know, if there's just a few cases, I don't mind doing them by hand. For length trimming, I like to use the length trimming tool from Little Crow Gunworks. This is a nice little tool. The phone number is right there, 320-796-0530. I really like this tool. It basically has an end mill in here with a little bearing and the kind of a shoulder datum point on there, and just kind of put it on and push it in, and it trims the length. It's a nice little thing, and it datums on the shoulder there, so it's not like you're necessarily, you're not going by the overall length, but they work really good. It's a real quick way to just kind of hold it in there like that and give it a hit. And, you know, so nice little shout out for that tool. It's, you know, definitely the way to go. Just any kind of a hand drill is all you really need to length trim your cases, and that's kind of a pain in the butt to do that in most cases. Now the downside, I guess, is that it's not breaking the chamfers or anything on the edge, so you still got to do that as a separate step. Now I like to use these carbide burrs. You can buy these. This is a 1/4-inch shank. You can buy these at probably your local hardware store. Usually they're not hard to find, but because they're carbide, they actually last a very long time, and I like to use these to break the inside of the case neck. So I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so now we'll break the edge on one of these and just kind of walk it in and let it kind of do its thing, and you get a nice little chamfer on the inside. Try and get that in focus for you. There we go in there, right about there. So it does a real nice job, a nice little carbide tool. Now for this type of load, this step is optional, cleaning out the primer pocket. You can see the primer pocket's pretty cruddy there, but I got a little kind of a bristle brush kind of thing here, and just kind of give it a little polish. And you can see now the primer pocket's kind of cleaned out. So, you know, on a competition load you always do this, but for a load like this, kind of a novelty load, you wouldn't necessarily go to the trouble, but it's up to you. I'm going to be using Federal Gold Medal Match primers. These are large rifle primers for the 308, and these are what I use mostly for F-class. You do not need to use a premium primer like this for a load like this, but it's a good primer, so why not, right? I'll be using a hand priming tool. Just put the little primer, I got a little primer here, and just pop it in the hole there, and take the case and put it in there and give it a squeeze. There we go, and primer's in. So the next step is to weigh out the powder. For the 308 with these bullets that I'll be using, I'll be using about 10 grains of this Trail Boss powder from IMR. What's neat about this powder is it looks like little donuts. It's made specifically to occupy a lot of space, so you don't get a lot of powder in the case by weight. In a 308, I think about 15 grains of this powder would probably fill it, and I think it has a fairly quick burn rate. But the idea is that it basically it's a low energy powder. It really helps to keep your velocities down. So I know guys will use this kind of powder to make subsonic loads for silencers and things like that. So kind of a neat powder. If you don't have any, you might want to throw it into your cabinet, and I bet you'll find a use for it. So I'm going to turn on the scale here. I just got a little cheap scale here I'm going to use for this today. It doesn't have to be a very precise load. And 10. And let's see, we're good. So I'm just going to sprinkle in 10 grains. At 3, 5, 6, 7, 7.2, 7.8, 9, there we go. 10 grains right on the money. Okay, so that's one. I'll load up a whole bunch of these. What I like to do is after I weigh them, I just put them in this little one of these little condiment dishes. I buy these a bunch at a time at a local restaurant supply place. Got a whole stack of them, and I just basically kind of weigh them up, and that way I can kind of focus on my weighing while I'm weighing them, and then move over to just dumping them into the cases as the next stage. And if I ever have to question any of the loads, I can always reweigh it rather than dump it into the case. So for this load, it's not that critical, but for a competition grade load, or to try to get that load perfect, it really kind of allows me to double check anything if I start to feel like something might have gone wrong. I'm at 6, 7.5, 7.8, 8.3. That should probably do it. 9.8. 9.8 still. Isn't gonna move. There we go. 10. All right. Dump that into the little condiment dish, and I'll weigh some more, and then we'll get ready to dump the powder. Okay, so now I have a whole bunch of these condiment cups. Every one of them had been weighed with 10 grains of Trail Boss powder in there. There's my Trail Boss powder, IMR Trail Boss. So now I'm just going to go and dump them all into each individual case. So there we go. Just keep going. Because these powder kernels are so large, you got to kind of tap them to get them to go through the hole in the funnel.
Don't forget to like.
And one more to go. There you go, and then we'll just double check. Everyone's got some. Okay, we're good. Now we just got to see some bullets. Now these, we'll get into the weight. These pellets weigh about 53 grains for that one. Let's see, 53 grains, 52.9, 52.9, 53. So 52.9 to 53 grains per lead ball. So just so you have an idea on that, that's how much they weigh. Now, we'll get into how we're going to sheet them. So what I have here is a case with 10 grains. It's a 308 Winchester case. These are PPU cases, but I don't think it much matters. The variations in case weight are not going to be as sensitive as they would with a full charge, and but they are all the same cases. Now, what I'm going to be doing is basically I did flare the mouth opening with a carbide burst. It's got quite a delicate angle on it, so there's plenty of lead in on there. So if I basically just take a bullet in one of my little lead balls and rest it on top, I'm just going to basically be careful, just tap it very lightly, and you'll notice that it usually will go in pretty good. And you'll notice that some of the lead can get kind of peeled off here, so we want to clean that off before we shoot it. Otherwise, that could kind of get in the chamber a little bit, and it might prevent you from loading the round properly. So one way to compensate for that is make sure that you pound it all the way in so that it kind of removes all that. Like, see, if I put it in all the way, it's really nice and clean now. So really, for me, I think it's better to just drive it in all the way, even though you might be inclined to leave it sticking out. Let's do another one here. Just rest it as square as you can on top and just tap it gently, especially at the beginning. Get it started. And tap it until the nose is flush with the top of the brass. And there we go. We got a 308 wad cutter load with a 53 grain lead ball, lead pellet kind of. So that's how we do it. I've also done other ones. Here's some I'll show you that I've done for the 3030. Now these were done with a round nose on them. I showed you when I was forming them. I just kind of drove them right through. So you can do it with you know, with this setup, I can do it for any 30 caliber load, but you can make them for, you know, you can get other shotgun slug sizes, or shotgun shot size, I should say, for other sizes if you're interested in making this similar kind of a thing for other calibers. But there we go. There's 30-30 ones. So I'm making 16 of these 308s today, and I'll just proceed and get the rest of these seated. So there it is. While I was at the range, I did zero the rifle with 147 grain PPU factory box ammunition, full power loads at 100 yards, and the rifle was shooting about a 2.5 inch group. It's a Norenko M14, not the most accurate rifle in the world, but kind of I guess normal for that kind of a gun. And then I shot the little 53 grain trail boss loads, and they grouped right about the same. Just, I would say the center of the group might have been about an inch below the full power 147 grain PPU load. So just as far as accuracy is about the same, 2.5 inches. So you know, really I find it to be pretty practical for, you know, I guess short range small game with 308. So I hope you give it a try. I want to thank you for watching. Practical Tactical. We'll see you next time.
Don't forget to subscribe.